So let's go through some of the brain structures just really briefly as an overall. I apologize to those of you that have really studied neurology. This is kind of a European tour. So we have the brainstem. In the brainstem, the functions are breathing, eating, balances, reflex, motor coordination. It's responsible for waking, sleeping, arousal, focus of attention, and it helps regulate our sensory input and our motor output. So it passes messages from the various parts of the body and the cerebral cortex. People started studying the brainstem in children with autism or thinking that might be part of the problem because of the behavioral observations they see in children with ASD. The twirling and the self-stimulatory behavior, the movement differences that they see, the fact that most babies grow out of primitive reflexes and they keep them a little bit longer, that there's a huge majority of sleep disorders and a lack of ability to get to extended REM sleep sometimes in children with autism, and that there are difference in the reactions to sensory stimuli that we know are well documented. So brainstem studies have shown an absence of nystagmus after twirling. What does that mean? Okay, what that means is typically if you spin us around, our eyes kind of try to catch up after we stop, so they'll have a little rotary movement, but we don't see that in children with autism. In all, none of these are true in every single child with autism. Also, they found a difference in tissue of one woman with autism. They looked after her death and found that there were the fossil nucleus was different and that the superior olive was missing. So now let's move to the limbic system. The function of the limbic system has been kind of conjectured from animal studies, and it includes the hippocampus and the amygdala. And what we think that the limbic system does is allow people to gather psychosocial meaning from events and influences drive, motivation, affect. So when we look at the limbic system and the functions in ASD, we have two main issues. The first is the representational memory, and that means the integration of information from your senses, what you're receiving from your outside world, what your brain does to mediate those facts, those experiences, and those events. Many children with autism have a great deal of difficulty with that. Then we have habit memory, and habit memory is the repeated presentation that allows for kind of automatic connections between what's presented and the expected responses, and those are intact in children with ASD. So when we look at studies of the limbic system, we find that some children with autism don't have that preference for mother over a stranger's face. And we also have some animal studies that suggest that there are limbic system problems present at birth, but they may not be noticeable until around 2 or 3 years of age. There have been some postmortem studies on adult autism brains, and that have shown some structural abnormalities with the limbic system. But as in all other things that we found, with the possible exception of the white matter, it's not in all children with autism.